Stop now.
7 spine-chilling paranormal tales, cursed encounters on haunted highways revealed. Amelia tightened her grip on the steering wheel, fingers trembling as she navigated the rain-slicked roads that whispered secrets of the lost. Each mile felt like a wretched mile closer to something she couldn't define, something that scratched at the edges of her mind. What she'd heard in the diner about the cursed backroads gnawed at her, every tale urging her to heed the warning. But bills were piling up, and a warm bed awaited her little girl. She pushed on despite the storm drumming against her windshield. The diner had been filled with the usual grim patrons that night. The air hung heavy with the scent of frying oil and a sense of despair that coated the walls like old paint. Stories swept across the booths like smoke from a fading campfire, tales of travelers who vanished into thin air.
They say if you pick up a stranger, you might not make it back.
You might become part of the town's dark history. An old man had chuckled with a grimace that stuck with her. Amelia had smiled nervously, then thought of her daughter asleep at home, unaware of the shadows that lurked outside their front door. As she drove through the desolate roads, the wash of her headlights cut through the relentless rain, revealing twisted trees that loomed like skeletal hands reaching for salvation. Exhaustion tugged at her eyelids, but a sudden flicker of movement jolted her back. A figure appeared in the headlights, a young girl, soaked and shivering in a tattered dress, waving frantically.
Amelia's heart lurched.
The warnings screamed in her mind.
No!
Yet her maternal instincts surged like a wildfire. She pulled over. The girl slipped into the passenger seat, her eyes wide and unnaturally reflective, as if she possessed the knowledge of unspoken horrors.
An unsettling stillness settled between them, and the rain's rhythm became a haunting symphony.
"You shouldn't have stopped," the girl whispered, voice trembling.
"What do you mean?" Amelia asked, trying to sound calm while her pulse raced. The girl's face grew grim. "There are things out here, things watching you."
The air grew thick with tension, and chills grazed Amelia's spine as she recalled the old man's tales, stories of an unseen force that preyed upon those who drove these haunted highways late at night. A shiver of fear rippled through the car as shadows danced just outside Amelia's vision.
"You don't know what lurks in these woods. They see you." Amelia's heart thudded. Panic crept in.
She wanted to flee, but part of her felt trapped.
The girl continued, revealing dark secrets about the townsfolk, neighbors who wore warm smiles in daylight but whispered nightmares in the cover of night. Amelia's breath hitched, realizing that every flicker of movement outside the window wasn't just paranoia.
Something was indeed out there. Desperation clawed at her as she pressed the gas pedal, aiming to outrun the storm, the girl's words crawling under her skin.
"We need to get home,"
Amelia urged, the threat of danger swirling around them like the fog neared. As she glanced in the rearview mirror, a shadow loomed closer, moving with unnatural swiftness, instinctively warning her that hope could be a cruel illusion in a place where trust had long departed. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening.
YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow.
If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference.
Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from.
I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Racing down the winding road, the girl's hands gripped the seat tightly, her wide eyes scanning the dark as if she could see the horrors hidden out of the light's reach.
Amelia knew then she was not just driving toward a home, she
was heading deeper into a nightmare crafted by the shadows that dominated this cursed town. Each heartbeat echoed a desperate question: would she find safety in her own arms, or was she destined to join the echoes of those who had vanished into the depths of fear? The road twisted into darkness ahead, and as dread settled in her gut, she realized the true cost of having opened her door to a stranger. The engine roared like a beast in the night, drowning out the girl's warning. Amelia felt a surge of adrenaline, but the nagging fear in her gut clawed at her resolve. She forced a glance at the girl beside her.
"What do you know?"
she demanded, hoping for anything that could make sense of this madness.
"They don't let you leave," the girl replied, her voice trembling but urgent.
"The shadows, they stop you.
They take you." Each word fell heavy like stones, weighing down Amelia's heart. "Who?" Amelia's breath quickened. "Who takes you?" "Not who.
What? The girl corrected softly, her gaze darting to the rearview window.
They'll come for you. Amelia squinted into the darkness behind them, battling the temptation to turn the car around.
The shadows were creeping close, gliding along the sides like predators lying in wait. We'll be fine, she muttered, trying to convince herself more than the girl. The gas was pressed, the speedometer climbed, but the air in the car turned icy.
Panic loomed like the storm overhead. Faster, please. The girl's voice sliced through the tension. They're hunting.
Amelia's pulse raced, and she felt the weight of every horror story she'd heard in that diner saturating her mind.
Her lungs tightened.
She gritted her teeth and leaned forward, willing the car to push beyond its limits. The tires whined against the slick road. Rain pelted the windshield with relentless fury. The headlights flickered, barely illuminating the twisted trees that lined the road, their gnarled branches moving like fingers trying to snatch them back.
What do you mean they're hunting? Amelia asked, a note of hysteria rising as desperation seeped into her voice. They like the light. They hide in the dark and wait. The girl's eyes, shining with unshed tears, grew wide. When you see them out there, it's too late. Amelia's grip on the wheel tightened painfully as she tried to keep her focus ahead.
I can't let them take us, she whispered to herself, gathering steely resolve. But fear surged within her, an urgency to protect her child from the horrors that danced just out of sight. Suddenly, a figure emerged to the side of the road, warped and indistinct beneath a heavy veil of rain. Amelia slammed the brakes, her heart racing as they skidded to a halt. The figure stepped partially into the light, revealing a gaunt man with hollow eyes and an unsettling grin. He raised a skeletal hand, beckoning, smiling in a way that made Amelia's skin crawl.
Don't!
The girl shouted, her voice sharp with panic.
But it was too late. Amelia was paralyzed, entranced by the man's unsettling gaze.
He leaned closer, as if drawing in her very essence. The air thickened with a suffocating weight, and Amelia felt the car vibrating with unseen forces, an echo of despair that pressed upon her soul.
Drive!
The girl screamed, snapping Amelia back to her senses. With a sudden surge, Amelia slammed the gear into drive and floored the gas pedal, tires tearing away with a screech that dissipated into the storm's roar. They barreled down the road, leaving the figure behind, but not without a looming sense of dread that draped over them like a heavy shroud.
Did he touch you? The girl asked in a breathless whisper, startling Amelia. You have to believe me, if they touch you, it gets worse.
Amelia turned again to look at the girl, her heart pounding as the realization hit her something was terribly wrong with this child.
Worse than what? Amelia's voice trembled as she clutched the steering wheel.
Worse than being taken, the girl replied, her gaze piercing through the gloom.
Worse than becoming one of them. For the first time, Amelia felt a deep pit of hopelessness.
The road ahead twisted into darkness as their speed increased, but the shadows merely widened, ready to engulf them.
Buckle up!
Amelia shouted, fear pulsing through her veins, as she steered toward an uncertain fate.
But what awaited her on this cursed highway ahead?
The roar of the engine seemed to meld with the howling wind, each wail echoing a darker reality.
Amelia's mind whirled.
The girl, her passenger, was something beyond normal. Her wide-eyed terror felt contagious, and yet Amelia couldn't shake the conviction that her child needed protection.
But what could she protect her from? Tell me what we can do. Amelia shouted, her voice nearly lost in the chaos outside. Each second stretched into eternity, shadows flickering at the edges of her vision, whispering secrets just beyond understanding. Don't look back.
The girl urged, her voice quaking as she darted glances out the window.
They'll see you. If you see them. What happens if I see them? Amelia interjected, eyes tightening against the seat. The girl inhaled sharply, trembling under the weight of dread. You become a lantern for the darkness. You attract them. They feed on fear. Amelia's grip tightened around the wheel, knuckles white. Fear buzzed in her veins. But we can't just drive forever. Where do I go? Where can we hide from them? They know all the roads. They're the road. We have to find a safe place, a light. The girl's voice was urgent, desperate. We need to find the barn. The barn? Amelia echoed, trying to wrap her mind around the fragments of information. What barn? It's not far. Just past the bend.
The girl gestured wildly, but the rain clouded the view ahead, turning the world into a slip of shadows and despair.
If we can get there, we might be safe. A flash of lightning illuminated the world for a heartbeat. Within that moment, Amelia glimpsed figures flitting between the trees, lingering just out of sight.
A swarm of them, dancing, lurking, hungry. Each haunting face was twisted with an otherworldly dread, beckoning with claws like tendrils made of darkness.
No, we need to move. Amelia's voice cracked under the terrible pressure.
She pressed down harder on the gas, the engine snarling as the speedometer crept higher.
Hang on.
But the shadows grasped at the car, a subtle shackling of their momentum despite the power thrumming beneath the hood. Every emotional twinge, every nervous glance back threatened to drag her deeper into their grasp.
Amelia! Look!
The girl's shriek urged her eyes wide. The rear view showed a mass coalescing out of darkness, the gaunt forms shifting where the trees reached out like clawing fingers.
They found us. A shiver slithered down Amelia's spine.
The barn loomed ahead, a shadowed silhouette cutting against the storm-soaked landscape, promising both salvation and a new kind of horror.
Was it only a trap?
All at once, a figure lunged into the road, illuminated for a breath by her headlights. It was a woman, pale as the moonlight, mouth agape in silent terror. Amelia swerved, the car skidding dangerously close to the edge, tires screeching under the wild pressure.
Amelia!
The girl screamed.
Don't stop! What else can we do?
She shouted back, a rising tide of desperation mixing with defiance. As they hurtled past the barn, Amelia glanced in the side mirror. The woman began to change, crumbling into shadows as if the very light of the headlights drained her life force.
The road twisted behind them, dark and hungry, the figures merging into a wall of nightmares. A panicked thought struck: what if the barn was only a doorway into something far worse? Before she could react, the girl whispered, "Turn back." But Amelia was already questioning her choice. Could she trust anyone when the shadows were so blinding?
A voice whispered behind her, soft and relentless, weighing on her heart. "Amelia, help us!" The cold laughter of the shadows echoed in her mind, pulling at her sanity.
The night stretched endlessly, and as they raced further into the gloom, the real terror crept closer. What awaited them when the headlights dimmed, when the shadows filled the void?
The air chilled, and the road ahead warped, leaving Amelia teetering on the brink of despair. "Don't let them catch us." The girl's voice was barely a rasping breath, but the night was hungry.
How long until they would succumb? Amelia pressed down on the accelerator, desperate to escape the tightening grip of the shadows. The engine roared, its guttural growl matching the chaos swirling around them.
As the barn drifted out of sight, dread knotted in her stomach.
Could they really outrun whatever hunted them? Keep looking ahead.
The girl gasped, her eyes darting everywhere, as if the distant lights might guide them to safety.
If we stop, it'll be the end. Where do we even go? Amelia shouted, glancing at the girl.
Fear twisted her features, but something else shone through determination.
The old road.
The girl yelled back, struggling to be heard over the howling wind.
It's less traveled. We can lose them there. Old road? Don't you know what's out there? It was the last thing Amelia wanted to hear.
The old road bore tales of haunted gorges and vehicles that never arrived.
What do we have to lose? The girl's voice shook, wavering on the edge of resolve. It's our only chance.
The decision weighed on Amelia, but the flashing shadow of terror loomed close behind. With a swift jerk of the wheel, she veered right, tires kicking up gravel as the car fishtailed. Suddenly, the landscape changed.
The trees thinned, replacing the encroaching darkness with stretches of stark, empty road.
No signs, no lights, just an uneasy silence that stole the breath from their lungs. Amelia felt exposed, like a lone deer on a glittering highway.
What if they follow us here? The girl's fear seeped through the cracks of her bravado, turning Amelia's stomach into a knot.
"They won tea if we don't give them a reason," Amelia insisted, clenching her teeth around the hope that this would work. But as each second padded out, the silence amplified, every crack and pop echoed louder. The unsettling feeling that they were being watched crawled up her spine, the road twisted like a snake. With each curve came the sense of being drawn into something greater, something darker.
Amelia caught sight of strange, flickering lights up ahead, ghostly, blink like stars joined in spectral dance.
An unsettling thought twisted in her gut. What are those? Amelia pressed, twisting her grip tighter on the steering wheel. Lights of the lost, the girl whispered, her face paler than before.
We need to keep moving. They can lead us into traps, steal our souls. Amelia clenched her jaw.
They felt like fingers pulling them toward the abyss, beckoning with a sinister promise.
I can't look. I can't look.
She murmured, swaying under the tension, but the girl's voice cracked, rising into a shriek.
Amelia! Look! The glow grew closer, now distinctly human-shaped shadows spiraling from the lights.
At the center stood the same woman from before, her face now a mask of endless sorrow and despair. The woman reached out, a silent beacon against the horrible reality, a vessel of warning that screamed terror without sound.
Stop! Please stop, we need help. The shadows danced, and with it, so did the anguished cries of the damned. No! Amelia shouted, shaking her head fervently. We can't! The girl screamed, it's a trap. But the headlights flickered, sputtered, going dark. Their world plunged into a suffocating cloak of blackness. Amelia!
The girl gasped, panic splattering across her features, eyes wide with terror.
They're coming!
The shadows seemed to breathe deeper, swirling closer, merging in a chaotic frenzy. Fear ratcheted up, the density of despair pressed in from all sides. Amelia's heart thundered in her chest, an ominous rhythm of impending doom, then came a whisper, chilling against the backdrop of silence.
Help us! Is this what it felt like, the embrace of the dark? A warm, welcoming light draped in sorrow.
They had crossed a threshold, and now, beyond the threshold lay the unknown.
Should they have stopped? Amelia's resolve quivered.
Brace yourself, she murmured, as eerie whispers slithered through the car. Was salvation truly out of reach, or had they stumbled into something that would change them forever? Only shadows would tell. The world was ink black around them, an oppressive weight of darkness that clung to the car like a suffocating shroud.
Amelia could barely see a thing, even with the remnants of dead headlights flickering weakly, then extinguished entirely.
Sweat trickled down her neck, and her pulse hammered as if it might burst from her chest.
Amelia, we're trapped.
The girl whimpered, her voice quaking in the thick air, a reminder that the shadows were closing in. They probably sensed their fear, thirsting for it like hounds pursuing prey.
Hold on! Amelia shouted, revving the engine in desperation.
But instead of roaring to life, it sputtered like a dying ember.
Panic gripped her throat like a vice.
Suddenly, the shadows writhed outside the car, twisting into grotesque shapes. They dared Amelia to make a move, to step into the inky void where eyes blinked hungrily back at her. Whispers grew louder, cascading through the car like an unholy choir, intertwining with her thoughts.
Help us, join us, stop!
She shrieked, her hands gripped tight around the wheel.
I want tea! I want tea! Light sprang forth, illuminating the edges of the darkness.
A piercing beam sliced through the night, blinding but welcoming. It revealed the woman again, dripping sorrow, her mouth curled in anguish. Join the lost, the woman moaned, her voice a song woven with despair.
No!
The girl's voice cut through the haze.
It's a trick! You can't trust her! Amelia's nerves shook like a flickering flame.
She stole a glance at the girl, whose eyes were wide, reflecting nothing but terror.
What do we do? Get away! Reverse! We have to get back! The urgency in her voice pierced through Amelia's fog of fear. With trembling hands, Amelia threw the gearshift into reverse. The wheel skidded on gravel, emptying out a lurking scream into the void that seemed to swallow their resistance. Then came the thud. A great weight hit the trunk with a sickening thump, sending a vibration deep through the car. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. Something's out there. I don't care. Just go. The girl's scream was raw, frantic, Amelia slammed the gas pedal. The tires spun, biting into the gravel, and the car surged backward. But the darkness fell like a curtain, thickening and curling around the vehicle, wrapping them in an icy hug. Shadows twisted and howled, more aggressive now, unfurling like angry serpents on the hunt.
Then came the sounds, whispers turned to wails, cries clawing through the night like tormented souls.
"Amelia!" the girl shouted. "Stop! Look!"
Amelia dared a glance back, heart hammering, and what she saw froze her blood. A grotesque crowd of shadows rushed toward them, faces twisted in torment. Their mouths opened wide in wordless screams.
"No!" Amelia screamed, wrenching the wheel to the right.
The car shuddered violently, careening toward the edge of the road. Trees loomed, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers seeking to drag them into the depths of despair.
"Left! Turn left!" Amelia fought against the instinct to look back.
She risked a quick glance over at the girl, whose face was alight with panic, her eyes mirroring the horror enveloping them. Then the woman's figure appeared again, closer now, her expression one of terrible longing.
"Help us find peace with the lost no." Amelia gritted her teeth, pushing against the terror. "We're not joining anyone."
Suddenly, the car jolted violently, a sharp pain shot through Amelia's gut as the weight of the shadows bore down on her. Screams mingled with the growl of the wind, drowning out every rational thought.
"Keep driving! Don't stop!"
the girl cried, desperation etching her words. But the road was fading away beneath them, gnawing at their sanity.
Amelia pushed the car forward through the chaos, feeling as if time had warped, each second stretching into eternity. And then a flash.
For the briefest moment, they were enveloped in light, ethereal and warm, illuminating the dread swirling around them. The shadows recoiled in confusion, the screams fading to whispers.
"Did we escape?"
the girl gasped, clutching her armrest.
But before Amelia could respond, the warmth faded, and a chilling realization settled into her bones. They were not free yet.
"Amelia," the girl whispered, her voice trembling as the shadows resumed their relentless pursuit.
"It's not over, is it?"
A single heartbeat echoed in the silence, rising like a dark crescendo. What lay ahead was shrouded in an even deeper horror. And they hadn't just entered the old road, they were on the cusp of something that went beyond fear, a choice that could seal their fate forever.
Would they face the shadows, or would the shadows face them?
The shadows were back, inching closer, their edges flickering like a candle on the brink of dying out. Amelia's heart raced against the pounding of the engine that sputtered once more, a sound more ominous than it was reassuring. With every whisper of despair that crept through the windows, the air thickened, pressing down on her chest like a weight lifting just beyond reach.
"Amelia," the girl's voice broke through the rising panic, trembling like a leaf. What if we can't escape?" "Don't say that. We'll find a way."
Amelia's voice was firmer than she felt, a makeshift armor against the terror that threatened to swallow them whole. But even as she spoke, dread pooled in her gut.
The car was not moving.
The road that had been their lifeline was vanishing into the void, and the shadows shrieked, pulling at her sanity with claw-like fingers. The figure of the woman loomed again, her gaze piercing through the thick blackness.
"You cannot run from yourselves, shut up!"
Amelia shouted, recoiling at the line of her own scream. They had to escape, had to find a way past this. The hesitation of the car, the inertia her fear wrapped around her like a vine, squeezing tight. The girl tugged at her arm.
"What if we turn off the car? Maybe they'll get confused." "Are you crazy? We need the engine."
Amelia retorted, but a part of her, the desperate, trembling part, wondered if it might actually trick the shadows, even if only for a moment.
"Amelia!"
the girl shouted, her voice rising in panic.
"What if they reach us? What if they can pull us into their void?"
The notion dripped with a haunting chill, and Amelia found herself glancing briefly into the rearview mirror. What she saw pulled a scream from deep within her throat, a mass of faces, twisted in agony and rapture, hungry for her blood, her fear. Her fingers trembled against the steering wheel, feeling their cold presence seep through the glass. "Okay, I have an idea." Amelia squeezed her eyes shut for a brief moment, gathering herself. She took a deep breath.
Let us do it. Let us turn the car off now. The girl nodded, desperate and determined.
They had nothing left to lose, only the gnawing certainty that staying on this path would lead them to oblivion.
On three. Amelia shouted, adrenaline pumping through her veins. 1, 2, 3.
She twisted the key, and the engine gave a reluctant sputter before falling silent. Instantly, the shadows stilled, barely brushing against the windows now, as if waiting, watching, breathing in the silence. For a heartbeat, there was stillness, a deceptive calm. The car sat in the eerie quiet as the shadows hovered around them. There was something unsettling in their silence.
What's happening?
The girl whispered, her eyes wide with both hope and dread, but the shadows surged then, turning chaotic and violent, crashing against the sides of the car like a tempest, howling with pure rage. Amelia pressed her palms to the glass, feeling the chill of the breathless void on the other side.
Amelia! The girl screamed, start the car. Now! In an instant, Amelia's mind raced.
She jerked the key back toward the ignition but, in the frenzy, could feel fingers from beyond grasping at her wrist, tugging, pulling her deeper into despair. The vision of the woman materialized, closer now, her face contorted in pain, mouthing silent screams.
Join us, find peace, and just as quickly, she vanished into the swirling dark.
Heart thundering, Amelia twisted the key furiously. The engine roared to life, the headlights flooding the darkness with a sharp light that sliced through the shadows, exposing their grotesque features, eyes glinting with malevolence.
Drive!
The girl yelled, her voice cutting through the howls. Amelia slammed her foot down, the car jolting as she spun the wheel, tearing back onto the road. The world outside twisted and warped, shadows darting alongside them in a frantic chaos, but then the ground beneath them shifted.
The road buckled, splitting open into an abyss, swallowing the light. Amelia, look out!
The girl screamed, pointing to the fissure yawning in the path ahead. And in that moment things changed. Something surged up from it, an arm, a dark, clawed limb reaching for them. Horror clashed with desperation as Amelia swerved again, but the shadows were already closing in, dragging them down into the unknown. The car began to slide.
Hold on!
Amelia shouted as screams filled the air, but they were enveloped in darkness once again. What awaited them below was a realm they could never have imagined, a graveyard of lost souls, each one eager to share their eternal torment, and their very souls were at stake.
Would they slip into the darkness, never to return? Or fight their way back against a tide of relentless horror? Amelia's heart raced as the darkness swallowed them.
The car's tires skidded on an unseen surface, and gravity pulled them down into an abyss that felt endless.
Amelia! Do something!
The girl's voice reached her through the chaos, panic seeping into the words like poison.
I'm trying! Amelia screamed back.
The engine roared against the pull of the void, a furious protest, while shadows clawed at the car, hungry for something far deeper than mere flesh. Through the swirling blackness, she glimpsed fleeting images, a flicker of faces like candle flames, blurred and desperately reaching for her. They were watching her, hungry for a taste of despair. What was this place? Was this what their fears had given birth to? In a burst of clarity, Amelia twisted the wheel hard, steering the car toward any semblance of light.
They had to get back to the road.
The stench of despair filled the air, damp, rotten, like the breath of the grave.
Look! There! The girl pointed ahead. Faint, pulsing lights appeared, glimmering like stars in the bottomless dark. A sliver of hope, or another cruel trick of the shadows? Hold on!
Amelia shouted, and her foot slammed down again on the accelerator. The car surged forward, the engine screaming like a banshee, and they shot toward the mystery light. As they approached, the lights morphed into a surreal landscape, broken tombstones, endless rows of them, each one engraved with names Amelia would never know. Ghostly figures drifted among the stones, their hollow eyes locked on the car, whispering in a language that sent chills crawling up her spine.
Are they dead? The girl gasped, eyes wide. Amelia couldn't answer.
She could hear the whispers now, too, a cacophony of sorrows echoing in her ears, each word a thread winding tighter around her mind. They resonate with her deepest fears, suffocating her reason.
Forget them. Just drive. She yelled, but how? What if this was a trap? What if the path forward led straight into their arms? The car raced past the tombs, speed now their only defense. Shadows stretched toward them, grasping, testing the limits of their will. And then the landscape changed.
The ground beneath shifted again, rocky and volatile, like the earth itself was alive and shunning them.
Amelia!
Her companion cried, but a violent jolt sent them crashing against the side. The headlights flickered, barely illuminating an emerging figure, a man dressed in rags, his face twisted in grief and fury. "Turn back," he screamed.
"You don't belong here."
His eyes burned like twin fires, desperate yet unyielding.
"What do we do?"
The girl whimpered, scanning the shadows. Before Amelia could respond, the ground shook, trembling beneath them. The tombstones shook, sending debris crashing around the car.
Too many souls, too many voices shouting for release. "Do not listen,"
the man shouted, clawing at his own face.
"You have to resist or you'll join them."
Amelia felt a sudden surge of fear, enough to block it all out, clenching her fists around the steering wheel.
"We're not staying here,"
she shouted over the cacophony of screams, but the shadows howled in response, a wailing fury that threatened to drown her out, to tear her apart. Suddenly, a blinding light grew before them, brighter than anything they had seen before as it washed over the car. What was it? The light pulsed, and a figure emerged from it, ethereal and magnificent, offering salvation or another entrapment. "You must choose," it whispered, soft yet dripping with a power that beckoned them closer.
"Amelia, we can't. What if it's a trick?" The girl stammered, her distress a mirror of Amelia's own. What would they choose?
Amelia could feel the shadows trailing back, drawn to the light, but she knew they had to act fast.
Surrender to the darkness or step into the light?
Every second counted. As they lingered on the precipice of choice, the ground trembled more violently, the shadows surged again, and a voice echoed deep within the void, "Join us, become part of the eternal night." Sweat dripped down Amelia's brow. The choice was theirs.
But what would it cost them to escape? Now!
She screamed, her heart tearing in two. With their future hanging by a thread, what path would they take, and would hope or despair claim their souls? The blinding light flooded the space around them, washing away the chill of the tombstones, distorting reality. Amelia felt something tugging at her, a weightlessness that threatened to lift her from the driver's seat. The girl next to her gripped the dashboard, her knuckles white, fear painted across her face.
"Amelia!"
she cried, the urgency in her voice slicing through the haze.
"We have to choose. Now!"
The shadowy figures screeched in protest, their cries drowning out reason, a desperate chorus demanding to be heard, to be remembered.
Amelia's mind spiraled between exhilaration and terror.
The light shimmered, a mystical force, promising warmth against the cold dread surrounding them.
"Don't look back!"
she shouted, her eyes locked onto the light, the only certainty within an ocean of chaos. But within the whispers, she felt the darkness lurk, its hands slithering at the corners of her mind, coaxing her to reconsider.
"Amelia!"
The girl's voice tore her from her thoughts.
"Choose."
The shadows are. With a burst of desperate confidence, Amelia slammed her foot hard on the accelerator. The car lunged, hurtling towards the light. Almost instantly, she felt the swell of the shadows claw at the back of her neck, tugging, gouging at their sanity. A sound erupted from the engine, a deafening roar that matched the intensity of her fear, and in a moment, the world around them shifted. They burst through the light, and for an instant, everything felt serene. The car sailed through an ethereal glow, vague outlines of lush trees and a sprawling open road came into view, nothing like the graveyard of despair they had just escaped. But just as quickly, the peace shattered. The scenery transformed into a twisted landscape, trees gnarled and blackened, their leaves shriveled like forgotten memories. The once inviting road now appeared cracked and warped.
"Where are we?"
the girl gasped, squinting as darkness swallowed the edges of their vision. Amelia felt a cold sweat on her brow, her body trembling.
"We can't stop."
"Just drive," she ordered, her voice shaking.
But the shadows followed them, more potent than before.
She could see them creeping along the trees, reaching with smoky tendrils, eager to reclaim what they felt belonged to them.
With every passing moment, Amelia knew they were not safe.
The light had merely diverted them, not saved them.
"Look!"
The girl pointed to the road ahead, her breath hitching. In the distance, figures materialized, lost souls, wandering aimlessly, their eyes vacant, seeking something they could never find.
Please don't let them take me. The girl whimpered, echoing the dwindling sanity within Amelia.
Each ghostly figure seemed to reach for their car, their expressions twisted in misery, attempting to claw through the barrier of metal and glass.
I won't let them.
Amelia promised, though she felt the weight of fear shifting, an oppressive presence pressing down on her chest. They sped past the forms, but one struck her as it rushed forward, a mouth stretching wide, a scream that pierced the air, a soul trapped in torment.
Join us. You'll be free.
It howled, its voice a terrible echo.
No.
Amelia yelled, gripping the wheel with desperate ferocity. Then, they approached a fork in the road, two paths veering into the deep unknown, one shrouded in shadows, the other illuminated with a dim, eerie glow.
A choice, again. Which way?
The girl murmured, panic saturating her words.
We can't stay here. What if both are death traps? Amelia interrupted, heart pounding so hard she could barely breathe. But we have to pick one.
The shadows clawed at the air around them, a swirling storm of despair that beckoned them toward darkness.
Time slowed, each heartbeat echoing in the suffocating silence. Amelia. Please.
The girl's voice quivered, desperation ringing clear.
Hold on.
Amelia shouted, navigating towards the right path, toward the dim light, wherever it might lead. What awaited ahead? Was it salvation, or an even greater doom? The car surged forward, light and darkness both threatening to consume them as they hurtled down the uncertain
road. Amelia clung to the hope that this choice would lead them to freedom.
Behind them, she could feel the shadows recoiling momentarily, waiting, watching. What would they unleash if they failed? But as they raced onward, whispers emerged from the depths. You think you have chosen wisely? This road will lead you to more than you bargained for. Each word echoed with a truth that chilled Amelia to her core.
Uncertainty hung thick in the air. Once again, time folded, suspense mounting. Would they find escape or revelation on this darkened road? The abyss awaited. Could they survive what lurked in the shadows, or would they fall into a deeper nightmare?
The car sped down the twisted road, its tires screeching against the cracked pavement.
Amelia's heart raced.
She fought against the tightening grip of dread squeezing her chest. Beside her, the girl's pale face glistened with fear, eyes darting from the ominous trees to the mocking shadows that slithered near the side of the road.
Amelia, are we even going the right way? The girl asked, her voice trembling, barely a whisper. The trees loomed taller, darker, and more twisted, as if alive, silently mocking their desperate escape. Just keep looking ahead. Amelia pleaded, wrestling the wheel as she veered to avoid a massive root that jutted into the road.
As she did, a dark figure lurched forward from the shadows, nearly grazing the car. A flash of unspeakable sorrow crossed its ghostly face, and Amelia felt bile rise in her throat.
Did you see that? The girl shrieked, clutching Amelia's arm, nails digging in. Yes. Keep your eyes on the road. They're trying to distract us. Amelia barked, pushing the accelerator harder, desperate to outrun the horrors. The road shimmered in front of them, creating an illusion of safety, but every sound, every whisper urged them to turn back, to give in to the pleading souls that reached for them. They were not just roadkill caught in the headlights, they were on a dark journey into something much worse ahead. The dim glow grew stronger, pulsating rhythmically like a heartbeat, promising something miraculous, yet carrying an undertone of dread. What if it's a trap? The girl whimpered, glancing over her shoulder. Every path is a trap. Amelia shot back, fear igniting her voice. But we have to take the chance. We can't go back. As they neared the sinister light, Amelia could see more figures emerging from the shadows, their faces twisted in agony, bodies desolate, as if they were remnants caught between worlds. Ghosts that had tried to escape only to become part of the cursed highway that wove between reality and whatever lay beyond. Suddenly, the car jolted, the engine sputtering. No! Not now! Amelia shouted, panic tightening around her throat. She pressed her foot down harder, but the car wheezed in protest. Amelia! The light! It's fading! The girl's voice went shrill, pulling Amelia's attention back to the glow ahead. In the fleeting illumination, Amelia glimpsed a figure standing beneath the trees, a woman in a tattered dress, her hair draping like shadows over her gaunt face. Help me, she beckoned, lips trembling in despair. I can't. Amelia yelled, voice breaking. Why? The girl cried. Maybe she can save us. No, no, no. It's a trick.
Amelia screamed, but the car's sputtering intensified, filling the air with the acrid smell of burning rubber and oil. Amelia felt the weight of the shadows pressing down, a palpable fear that sought to snuff out every flicker of hope. Suddenly the light flickered out, darkness swallowing them whole. The only sound was the engine's dying gasp. Silence hung heavy around them. Amelia glanced at the girl, whose face now reflected the crushing realization that they were stuck trapped in a nightmare from which there was no escape.
What do we do?
The girl whimpered, eyes wide with terror.
Amelia felt the encroaching darkness, the shadows swirling like a living entity, closing in.
We have to keep going, she whispered, drawing in a shaky breath, but just then, the figure under the trees lurched forward, too close now, its anguished wail echoing through the stillness. Help me, join us. As the figure approached, Amelia felt her resolve falter. The shadows loomed eager, waiting for them to falter one step further.
Amelia?
The girl's voice cracked, panic rising in her chest. What if a loud bang interrupted them, and the windshield shattered, shards exploding into the car? The woman was gone, replaced by an endless night.
Drive! Amelia screamed as adrenaline coursed through her.
She slammed the car into gear, the engine spluttering back to life, barely alive, just like them.
But where would they escape to? Ahead lay darkness, behind them an endless cycle of shadows, tormenting. Souls forever waiting.
The very fabric of their fate bent like road signs twisted in the wind, shrieking for a choice yet again.
Amelia! Look!
The girl screamed, pointing. A deadly fork awaited them ahead, one road shrouded in darkness, the other bathed in an unsettling flickering light, beckoning with a soft, ghastly glow.
Which path? Amelia asked, throat dry. The choice lingered, a breathless moment of terror hanging thick in the air. The girl stammered, I don't know. What if we choose? We don't have time.
Amelia yelled, hands trembling on the wheel, as the shadows surged closer. Time stopped. The air crackled with tension.
Would they join the lost souls in despair, or could they find a path to salvation amidst the looming darkness? Which way?
Amelia's voice trembled as she wrestled with the weight of the decision that could seal their fate. But before the words escaped, the road beneath them began to dissolve, shifting like sand, and the shadows closed in, hungry for their choice. Amelia's heart raced as she hurled the car towards the flickering light, a beacon against the encroaching darkness. The shadows chased her relentlessly, gnashing their teeth at the heels of her car. Hold on, she shouted as she gripped the wheel, the engine sputtering defiantly beneath her. Go faster, the girl cried, her voice a frantic pitch that pierced Amelia's focus. The glow up ahead pulsed with an eerie rhythm, like a siren's call promising safety, yet inviting danger. The shadows teetered on the edge of existence, hovering like hungry moths drawn to flame. With every inch closer they came to the light, the gloom swirled thicker around them, tendrils gripping at their fragile sense of hope. Amelia's breath hitched as whispers filled the air, the agony of the forsaken, the longings and regrets of those who had faced this choice before.
Don't listen. Just keep driving. Amelia shouted into the wind, the words rallying her determination.
The girl's eyes widened, reflecting the flickering glow, glistening with a mixture of dread and hope.
Amelia, I can't take this anymore.
As they plunged into the radiant light, the world exploded in a burst of clarity. For a heartbeat, everything seemed still, the noise of the shadows drowned out, the chatter of despair silenced. Amelia felt a weight lift, but it was fleeting. Whatever force illuminated the path was coupled with a harsh reality. The moment simply couldn't last. The car jerked violently as they hit a bump, throwing them both forward. Panic seized Amelia's heart, she steered aggressively, struggling to regain control. The familiar terrain slipped away, and the encroaching shadows writhed at the edges of her vision, their whispers now rising into a cacophony of terror. Then, just as quickly as it had come, their sanctuary of light became a mere illusion, distorting the landscape into twisted shapes. Trees bowed beneath the weight of despair, and a warped road stretched aimlessly before them. What's happening? The girl moaned, panic crawling into her voice.
We have to keep moving.
Amelia shouted back, fear tangling her breath as she fought against the growing despair. But then, something shifted. The very road beneath them began to crack, creating a gap that threatened to swallow them whole.
"Open your eyes!" Amelia screamed, shaking her head to dispel the encroaching dread.
She pressed the accelerator, urging the car forward, but every second stretched like the tight string of a bow, ready to snap.
As they collided with the gap, Amelia held her breath, bracing for impact.
The world erupted around them in a cloud of dust and debris as they cleared the chasm. Suddenly, the shadows within their car dissipated momentarily, roaring in anger.
The girl clutched her seat tightly. "They won. Let us go." Amelia's mind raced. "We can't give in. We need to find a way out."
But as they sped down the road, she spotted figures shifting amid the branches, lost souls weaving in and out of existence, their faces twisted in tormented recognition. The air grew dense with emotion, thick like a suffocating fog. As her headlights caught a fleeting glimpse of their anguished expressions, recognition dawned within her.
"They are us," she whispered, choking back fear. "They were once here, like us."
A figure stepped into the light, freezing Amelia's heart.
It was the woman, the one she had seen before, her face now marred with desperation, fingers clawing at the air. "Help, join us now."
Amelia slammed her foot down, forcing the car onward, desperate to outrun the beckoning hand. Just beyond the woman, another figure lurked in the shadows, eyes akin to bottomless pits, hollow of sanity but filled with hunger. Amelia's resolve twisted with deep uncertainty, each heartbeat matching the rhythm of the stink of despair wafting through her window.
"What if?" the girl whispered, trembling. "What if they need us?" "Don't say that. We're not here to suffer."
Amelia snapped, fighting against the urge to listen. The shadows flared as she shouted, a collective sound like that of a wounded animal.
Yet, behind them, the glow flickered to life, brightening as whispers filled the air. "Come back to us, find peace now." "This is not peace,"
Amelia yelled, teeth clenched. She shoved the accelerator down as if raw willpower could break them free. Then it hit her, a memory, a distant flicker of warmth.
"It's all a game," she cried, finally feeling clarity emerge from the muddle of fear. "They are strong because we're scared. We have to push back."
Suddenly, she swung the car hard to the left, veering toward the other path, the one that had been shrouded in darkness. The girl gasped, fear dancing wildly in her eyes.
"No! You're going to send us into the void. They feed on our fear."
Amelia countered, her heart thudding in her chest.
"We can't let them control us."
As the car slipped away from their pursuers, the darkness coiled tight around them, but Amelia powered through the night, racing toward the uncertain, embracing the unknown because the shadows couldn't touch them if they didn't fear. The world began to shimmer slightly as they tore through, twisting faster and faster, defying the monsters that wanted to reclaim them.
Amelia's breath was heavy with resolve.
The shadows pressed closer still, but she felt a surge of strength against them. For the first time, they felt connected, as if the car's engine roared not just with combustion but with determination, courage burning brightly in defiance. She pressed the accelerator harder, each inch closer to freedom, punctuated with the cries of the lost fading away, their wails erupting into peace. Suddenly, a break in the trees revealed a sanctuary, a small farmhouse, light glowing warmly through the dark, promising salvation.
"Amelia!" the girl shouted, hope trembling in her voice. "Hold on."
She steered hard toward the light, and as they broke through the threshold, a blinding flash enveloped them. Just like that, everything vanished, the car, the shadows, the eternal night. And there they were, bathed in dawn's soft embrace, the weight of despair lifting to reveal blue skies overhead. Amelia blinked in awe, feeling the warmth of the sun against her skin, hear the chirping of the birds returning life to a reality once marred with darkness.
"Did we make it?" the girl asked, disbelief thick in her voice. Amelia let out a shaky breath, glancing at the small house nestled in the distance. "I think we did." As the shadows faded into memory, a sense of peace finally took root in Amelia's chest. They were free, alive, ready to face a new day with one another. But just as they stepped out, Amelia glanced back with a knowing frown, feeling the tide of countless souls still out there lost. They may have escaped, but she realized then that the fight was not over. They would need to share their stories, warn others of the paths taken and not taken, because in the heart of every haunted highway, the shadows would always lurk.
As they walked toward their new beginning, Amelia felt a bond deeper than the night they escaped, pulling her forward into a life filled with courage, the shadows a mere reminder of what they had left behind, and now keep the momentum alive. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories from this channel. Smash the like button to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories on this ending. I want to know your feelings, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. They will thank you later.